over 200 alleged Venezuelan gang members have been deported from the United States to a supermax prison in El Salvador, despite a U.S. judge's order blocking the removals. El Salvadoran President Nayib Bukele announced on social media that 238 members of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua and 23 members of the international MS-13 gang arrived in the Central American country on Sunday morning. Neither the U.S. government nor El Salvador has identified the detainees or provided details about their alleged criminal activities or gang affiliations. A federal judge's order had prevented the Trump administration from using a centuries-old wartime law to justify the deportations. However, the flights had already departed. President Bukele mocked the judge's ruling on social media, stating, "Oopsie, too late." A video attached to one of his posts shows lines of people with their hands and feet shackled being escorted by armed officials from the planes. Bukele, an ally of former President Donald Trump, stated that the detainees were immediately transferred to El Salvador's notorious mega-jail, the terrorism confinement center, known as SECOT. He mentioned that they would be held there for a period of 1 year, which could be renewable. He added, "The United States will pay a very low fee for them, but a high one for us." U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio expressed gratitude to Bukele in a post on X, formerly known as Twitter, calling him the strongest security leader in our region. White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt also posted on X, saying, "These heinous monsters were extracted and removed to El Salvador, where they will no longer be able to pose any threat to the American people." Trump announced on Saturday that he had signed a proclamation declaring that the Tren de Aragua gang was conducting irregular warfare against the U.S., and that he would deport its members under the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. That evening, U.S. District Judge James Boasberg in Washington, D.C., ordered a 14-day halt to deportations covered by Trump's proclamation, pending further legal arguments. After lawyers informed him that planes with deportees had already taken off, Judge Boasberg issued a verbal order for the flights to turn back. However, this directive was not part of his written ruling. The written notice appeared in the case docket at 19:25 EDT on Saturday, 0:25 GMT on Sunday, according to reports from Reuters news agency. It remains unclear when the flights carrying the alleged gang members departed from the U.S. A senior official in the Trump administration stated that their legal advisors determined the judge's order was invalid because the two planes were over international waters at the time. "They were already outside of U.S. airspace," said a senior administration official. "We believe the order is not applicable." The Department of Justice has appealed against the judge's ruling. The American Civil Liberties Union ACLU, involved in the lawsuit against the Trump administration, suggested that the court's order might have been violated. The case raises constitutional questions since, under America's system of checks and balances, government agencies are expected to comply with a federal judge's ruling. Venezuela criticized Trump's invocation of the Alien Enemies Act, stating it unjustly criminalizes Venezuelan migration and evokes the darkest episodes in human history, from slavery to the horror of Nazi concentration camps. Amnesty International USA commented on X that the deportations were yet another example of the Trump administration's targeting of Venezuelans based on sweeping claims of gang affiliation. El Salvador's SECOT jail is part of Bukele's effort to crack down on organized crime in the country. The newly built maximum security facility can hold up to 40,000 people and has been accused by human rights groups of mistreating inmates. The arrangement between the U.S. and El Salvador signifies strengthening diplomatic ties. El Salvador was the second country that Rubio visited as America's top diplomat. During that trip in February, Bukele made an initial offer to take U.S. deportees, stating it would help pay for the massive SECOT facility. The latest deportations under Trump's second term are part of his long-running campaign against illegal immigration in the U.S. In January, Trump signed an executive order declaring Tren de Aragua and MS-13 foreign terrorist organizations. He gained voter support on the campaign trail, partly by promising to enact the largest deportation operation in U.S. history. While illegal border crossings have decreased to their lowest numbers in decades since Trump took office, reports suggest that he has been frustrated by the relatively slow pace of deportations so far.